And the craziest part? Facebook processes something like 2 billion event recommendations every single day. 2 billion!
Whistles. That's a lot of potential concerts I'm missing out on, or dodging, depending on your algorithm. But seriously, what happens if even a small percentage of those recommendations are way off?
Chaos. Think about it. If the system starts pushing irrelevant events, user engagement plummets. People stop trusting the recommendations, and they stop using the platform to discover new things. Event organizers lose out on potential attendees, and Facebook loses ad revenue. It's a cascading failure.
Okay, so high stakes. But break it down for me. How do these platforms actually know what events I, a person with notoriously unpredictable tastes, might actually enjoy?
It's a multi-layered approach, but at its core, it's about predicting the future based on the past. Think of it like Netflix recommending shows. They look at what you've watched, what people similar to you have watched, and what's trending overall. Event recommendation systems do the same thing, but with events.
So, what are the main ingredients in this recommendation recipe?
First, you've got collaborative filtering. This is all about birds of a feather flock together. The system identifies users with similar event attendance patterns. If you and I both went to a jazz concert last month and loved it, and you're now RSVPing to a blues festival, the system might recommend that festival to me too.
Makes sense. It's like Amazon's customers who bought this item also bought feature, but for real-world experiences. But what if I'm the first person in my group to branch out and try something new?
That's where content-based filtering comes in. This focuses on the event itself. The system analyzes the event description, the venue, the performers, the date, the location, and even the ticket price. It then compares these attributes to your past event attendance and preferences.
So, if I've consistently attended events at small, intimate venues featuring indie artists, the system will prioritize similar events, regardless of what my cohort is doing.
Exactly. It's about understanding your individual taste profile. Think of it like Spotify's Discover Weekly playlist. It learns your musical preferences over time and suggests new tracks that align with your taste, even if none of your friends are listening to them.
Okay, collaborative and content-based. That sounds like a solid foundation. But with billions of recommendations happening daily, there has to be something more sophisticated going on, right?
Absolutely. This is where machine learning comes into play. These platforms use advanced models to predict the probability of you attending an event. They consider hundreds, even thousands of features.
Thousands? Like what? Beyond just the obvious stuff like location and event type?
Here's where it gets interesting. They factor in things like the time of day you typically browse events, the device you're using, your network of friends, the weather forecast for the event date, and even your recent activity on the platform.
Wait, the weather? Seriously?
Seriously, if you consistently avoid outdoor events when it's raining, the system will downrank outdoor events on rainy days. It's all about finding subtle correlations and patterns that humans might miss.
That's wild. So it's not just Shrija likes jazz, it's Shrija likes jazz, especially if it's indoors on a Saturday night and none of her exes are attending.
Precisely. And these models are constantly being refined and improved. They use techniques like A/B testing to see which recommendations lead to higher engagement and attendance rates. They also use feedback loops. If you mark an event as not interested, the system learns from that and adjusts its recommendations accordingly.
So it's a continuous learning process. The more I interact with the platform, the better it gets at predicting my preferences. But what about the cold start problem? What if I'm a brand new user with no event history?
That's a tough one. In that case, the system relies on more general information, like your demographic data, your interests as expressed on your profile, and the events that are popular among other new users in your area. It's like Google News when you first sign up. It asks you about your interests to personalize your feed. As you start attending events and providing feedback, the system gradually builds a more accurate profile of your preferences.
Okay, that makes sense. So collaborative, content-based, and machine learning models working together. But what about bias? These algorithms are trained on data, and data can be biased. How do these platforms ensure that their recommendations are fair and equitable?
That's a crucial question. Algorithmic bias is a major concern in all recommendation systems, including event recommendation. For example, if the training data is skewed towards certain types of events or certain demographic groups, the system might inadvertently discriminate against other groups.
So, if the algorithm is mostly trained on data from people who attend expensive, exclusive events, it might unfairly prioritize those events for all users, regardless of their income level.
Exactly. To mitigate bias, these platforms need to carefully curate their training data, monitor their algorithms for fairness, and use techniques like reweighting and regularization to reduce the impact of bias. They also need to be transparent about how their recommendation systems work and give users control over their data and preferences.
Transparency is key. But even with all these safeguards, can these systems ever truly understand individual preferences? Taste is so subjective and context dependent.
You're right. Taste is inherently complex and unpredictable, but these systems are getting better and better at capturing the nuances of individual preferences. They're not perfect, but they're constantly evolving and learning. Think of it like Uber's ETA predictions. They're not always accurate, but they're generally pretty close, and they're constantly improving based on real-time data.
Okay, so what's the biggest mistake engineers make when building these recommendation systems?
That's a good question. I think the biggest mistake is focusing too much on accuracy metrics and not enough on user experience. It's easy to get caught up in optimizing for precision and recall, but if the recommendations are irrelevant, boring, or overwhelming, users will simply tune out.
So it's not just about predicting what people might like, but also about presenting those events in a way that's engaging and appealing.
Exactly. It's about creating a delightful discovery experience. Think about how Airbnb curates its listings. They don't just show you a list of apartments, they present them in a visually appealing way, with high-quality photos, detailed descriptions, and user reviews. The same principle applies to event recommendation.
Okay, I'm convinced. So what are 3 actionable things software engineers can do to improve their event recommendation systems?
First, embrace experimentation. Continuously A/B test different recommendation strategies and user interface designs to see what works best. Second, prioritize user feedback. Make it easy for users to provide feedback on the recommendations they receive and use that feedback to improve the system. And third, remember the human in the loop. Don't rely solely on algorithms. Use human curators to identify and promote high-quality events that might be missed by the system.
So experiment, listen, and curate. Got it. Any parting thoughts?
Smiling. Event recommendation is more than just predicting attendance. It's about connecting people with experiences that enrich their lives. It's about building a world where serendipity meets code.